The centrifuge extractor is used to determine the amount of free water or surface moisture on the aggregate used in the concrete mix. It is also used to help calculate the aggregate's absorption and total moisture percentage. Most ready-mix and other concrete manufacturing plants have moisture probes in their overhead bins that automatically measure the aggregate's surface moisture and sends that information directly to the batch computer to make the necessary adjustments to the mix water and aggregate batch weights. However, when moisture probes are absent or not used, the centrifuge test method may be used to accurately measure the aggregate's free water or surface moisture percentage. The information is then passed on to the batch operator, who will use the moisture correction to properly adjust the batch weight of the mixed water and the amount of fine lightweight aggregate. It is important to note that moisture probes do not accurately measure surface moisture on ESCS aggregates. ESCSI does not recommend their use for structural lightweight concrete or for internally cured concrete. This video will show you how to properly conduct the centrifuge method test, find the surface moisture and absorption percentage, and calculate and record the data on the worksheet. The tools you need to conduct this test are centrifuge extractor, components, and paper filter, pre-wetted aggregate sample used to conduct the test, paintbrush used to brush off the fines stuck to the paper filter, calculator, gram scale that can measure to 0.1 grams, oven, stove, hot plate, and wooden spoon to stir the aggregate, calculation worksheet. So, let's get started. Before we begin the testing, we will collect enough fine or intermediate size ESCS aggregate needed to conduct the test. A half-full 5-gallon bucket will be an adequate amount necessary to complete all the testing. Measure the mass or weight of the empty centrifuge bowl and record it as M1. Tare the scale with the centrifuge bowl on top. Add approximately 600 grams of pre-wetted lightweight aggregate to the centrifuge bowl. Record the mass of the pre-wetted aggregate added to the centrifuge bowl as M wet. Remove the centrifuge bowl from the scale. In order to avoid vibration during the centrifugation, the material should be evenly distributed in the centrifuge bowl. Holding the bowl level and shaking it in a circular motion will evenly redistribute the aggregate and minimize or eliminate vibration. Place the centrifuge bowl in the centrifuge. On top of the centrifuge bowl, place a filter paper ring and lid and secure the assembly with the nut. Place the outer housing over the assembly and fasten it with clamps. At this point, the sample is ready for centrifugation. Turn the centrifuge on and select 2000 RPM as the testing speed. Allow the sample to spin for 3 minutes at this speed. After 3 minutes, turn the centrifuge off. Once the bowl has stopped spinning, remove the outer housing, lid nut, lid, and centrifuge paper. Use a 2-inch to 4-inch paintbrush to sweep the fines off the centrifuge paper and back into the bowl. Discard the paper filter and place it in the recycle bin. Remove the centrifuge bowl, tare the scale, place the bowl on the scale, and record the mass of the pre-wetted surface dry aggregate and the centrifuge bowl as M2. The mass of the empty centrifuge bowl, M1, must be subtracted from M2 to obtain the mass of the pre-wetted surface dry aggregate. This is also known as SSD weight. The spreadsheet will automatically make this calculation. Record the weight of an empty pan to be used for oven drying the aggregate as M3. Transfer the material from the centrifuge bowl to the pan for oven drying. It may be necessary to use a scraper and a brush to remove the aggregate that has been pressed to the side of the centrifuge bowl. Care should be taken to assure that all material from the centrifuge bowl is transferred to the pan. Place the pan and aggregate in an oven at 230 degrees plus or minus 10 degrees Fahrenheit until constant mass is reached. If an oven is not available, it is acceptable to use a hot plate or other device to reach an oven-dried state. Keep heating until 2 consecutive readings are obtained that do not vary by more than 0.1 grams of a 5-minute period. Once the aggregate has been oven-dried, remove it from the oven and allow it to cool. Measure the mass of the pan and oven-dry aggregate and record it as M4. The mass of the oven-dry aggregate, MOD, can be calculated by subtracting M3 from M4. The results box auto-calculates the absorption, surface moisture, and total moisture for you. This moisture calculation worksheet, along with a specialized internally cured mix design and batching worksheet, may be obtained from your local lightweight aggregate supplier. So there you have it, the centrifuge test method of determining the surface moisture, absorption, and total moisture of lightweight aggregate used to produce internally cured concrete. For more information, please contact your local expanded shale, clay, or slate producer, or contact the Expanded Shale, Clay, or Slate Institute, ESCSI, using the contact information shown here.